Well, I hope you've heard our last two podcasts, 'cause today we're concluding our series on dealing with lipid hypothesis, food guide pyramid, and their effects on heart disease and obesity. We're also going to, if you caught our last show, we're going to show you why all three of us question the 42% obesity percentage that's put out in 2022 of the American public, why we think that number is actually wrong. All this and more today on the Personalized Fitness Podcast. Hey, good day, and welcome to the Personalized Fitness Podcast. My name is Garrett Williamson. I'm president of Personalized Fitness and the host of the Personalized Fitness Podcast. Thank you so much for joining us today on our third and final installment, dealing with the lipid hypothesis, the food guide pyramid, and kind of what all of that led to when it came to obesity and heart disease. Once again, I have on today's show our guest out of all the way from Star Valley, Wyoming, Dr. Paul Langevin of Star Valley Osteopathy. Paul, thank you so much for joining us today. And a little closer to home and sitting right next to me, our frequent guest on the podcast, and also basically my go-to as far as nutrition is concerned, dietitian Tonja Greene. Tonja, thank you so much for joining us today. So
glad to be here.
I'm gonna start out letting you know how to get in touch with the show if you have any questions. I can't wait to dive into this conclusion of this series. But if you're interested in any questions on this topic or any others, or have any questions dealing with the myths associated with health, fitness, and wellness, and boy, we got a big one today. Reach out to us, area code 251-278-3343. That's 251-278-EDGE. You can also reach me, Garrett, Garrett, at personalizedfitness.com. Personalizedfitness.com is our website. Contact us there, Facebook, Personalized Fitness, or hit me up on Twitter or X at Team PE if you have any questions about this. Okay, just a quick summary. We dealt with the lipid hypothesis, the start of all this. Celebrity has a heart attack, Dwight D. Eisenhower. And by the way, I didn't say anything about that, but there's another instance that we had a celebrity have some sort of health event and greatly affect our choices in food. So I think y'all know what I'm talking about.
Gluten.
Yeah, gluten. 1996, Elizabeth Hasselbeck. Anyway, that's where it started, led to Angel Keys, coming up with lipid hypothesis, as we've showed. And this is true. We're not drawing an opinion on this, but the hypothesis has actually never been proven, through countless studies. That led to the food guide pyramid in 1970 with the McGovern report. Paul told us a good history about that with Nick Motern, the journalist, writing the food guide pyramid. Tonja gave us some great information dealing with the food guide pyramid and the inadequacies of it, and the way it was a great marketing concept, but also what it's led to now, the My Plate and what have you. But we're dealing today with kind of a conclusion of all that, and we're also going to talk about something we ended off. If you heard our last episode, something we ended off with last time, and that is that we said that they state that in 2022, as of 2022, 42% of American adults are obese, and I asked both of our guests if they thought that number was correct. And y'all's answers were?
No.
And there's definitely a reason for that. And either one of y'all jump at that if you want to. But why are you saying no?
BMI.
Okay.
BMI is a horrible measurement. It doesn't really show, it's not a decent measurement tool for health, wellness, and morbidity.
Right.
And it's ingrained in everything.
Yes.
Everything in medical health care. You have to get paid for your medical visit from insurance, Medicare, Medicaid included.
Right.
You have to measure their height and their weight, their age, and their gender. And then everybody's gone to electronic medical records that automatically calculates a BMI.
Right.
When we used to do handwritten stuff, if we didn't include the BMI, the insurance company, oh, not paid.
Amazing.
So if it's paid for, it's important, and
right.
it has value, which is junk.
It's absurd. Did you see this also? Did you when you were practicing? Was that BMI heavily used, or is that why you said no?
The place I worked, it was not, because we got the good old fashioned calipers out.
Oh wow! How ancient y'all are.
But the thing that always raised my eyebrow. I mean, you could have just two people that knew nothing about health and fitness, two people standing in the same room who are given a BMI, which is just basically your weight relative to your height. And they could look at the number and look at each other and say, I think something's wrong with this picture.
Yeah.
I mean,
yeah.
I think the average individual can see that there's got to be more to this, or wait, but look at you and look at me.
Right. Yeah.
We're
yeah.
both shaped completely differently, but yeah, we have the same BMI. Or, I mean, I just think it's very see-through.
And you talked about this at the end of the last episode, but you lay hands on people. You do a lot of manipulation. And you were telling me about how you could tell, a healthy person and somebody that wasn't healthy just by laying hands on them. I'm curious what their BMIs are. Would you have an occasion where you have somebody has a good BMI, but maybe something doesn't feel right here?
The vast majority of people that I feel is unhealthy have a normal BMI.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just doctors are fed into this. They
yes.
deal with this day in, day out, and they just, okay, but your BMI is high. That's bad. Okay. Yeah. This is anecdotal, but
right.
in my powerlifting phase,
yes.
I got up to about 275.
Right.
And I was my only goal was, how much weight can I throw up there? And that was my only goal.
Right.
And so I retired from the Navy, still pretty big guy. I was about 275.
Right.
And so we moved back to Wyoming. I start seeing this one doctor. He's like, your BMI is 35. Yeah. Let's measure your fat. So they do a formal fat measurement.
Right. Wow.
And they're like, well, you're 17.5%. Right? And 65% of your weight is muscle mass, which is like 2 standard deviations above the average.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And I'm like, why did you mention the BMI? Who cares about the BMI? And he was literally offended that I said that.
Like, I wouldn't doubt it.
BMI is junk.
Do you know where it came from? That's what got me. And knowing both of y'all, and I know you have an interest in history, Paul. I know you've got a great interest in history. But I go, look, okay, where did we go to this ridiculous idea of comparing your height to your weight, and that's a measurement of your health? And I always use now, if you're not watching this, if you haven't watched this on social media, you see me stick my thumb out, kind of like, that thing kind of looks like you're in shape. That's basically what BMI is. But do y'all know where it came from originally?
This part I don't know. No.
Adolfo Quetelet. Oh. Adolfo Quetelet in the 1700s was French. I don't speak French, so Quetelet. I'm not sure how to pronounce his last name, but it was in 1700 in France. He was a statistician. He was a mathematician and an astronomer. Okay, I would think that's kind of an analytical guy. What do you think? And I mean, do you think he really leans to a subjective answer or an objective answer? You know what I mean? So, but he was kind of a health nut. He liked getting himself healthy, and he wanted to know how healthy he was. Now, I'm guessing, didn't read this in the history, but I'm guessing, if he asked somebody's opinion of that subjective, am I in shape? He probably didn't accept that. So he developed this scale. Now, mathematician, statistician, and an astronomer, and he developed this scale. It was known as the Quetelet index, and it was basically your height versus your weight. That's where it came from. Now, I just called the Quetelet index. I bet y'all until this day have never heard that. The Quetelet index. Okay, Quetelet. How do you ever pronounce it? Mm-hmm. So this same scale, unchanged from the 1700s. Written by a statistician, statistician, mathematician, and astronomer. This scale made it all the way up into the 1950s.
It's impressive.
Okay.
That has some legs. Wow.
Yeah.
It doesn't it though? But it didn't change anything but its name. And its name changed right in the latter part of the 1950s, actually in the 1960s, close to 1970. And because of a certain individual that wanted a way of measuring people and seeing whether or not we got to track this. Are they in shape? Are they healthy? And he stumbled upon the Quetelet index. And he said, this is awesome. I am going to rename it the body mass index. Take a wild guess at who that individual was.
Oh, wow. Guessing games.
60s to 70s, major change starting in the 50s. In the 60s and 70s, it really, really flushed out and developed. And it all started from one person.
Was that Keys again?
Angel Keys. Yes, sir. Angel
Oh.
Keys deemed the Quetelet index the body mass index. Isn't that interesting? That's
That
not a
is
conspiracy
interesting.
theory. That is history.
Very interesting.
Yeah. And so this scale, and if you ask, and if no offense, and I'm talking to an osteopathic physician right now, you ask the majority of physicians, health professionals, personal trainers, that especially ones that use the BMI, you ask them if they ever heard of the Quetelet index, I'll bet you money they'll tell you that.
Oh no,
Interesting.
definitely.
And
not.
that's where it came from. So,
And that's the interesting thing is they don't know any better. And if you
Right.
bring it up like, well, and I'll say this in passing, BMI is just garbage data and it doesn't
Yeah.
really help us. Well, it's the best we have so far.
oh no, what's not? Okay, before we go there, and I'm gonna pitch that to you because I know that in just a minute when we get to that point about what should we use. All right, well, why? Okay, well, we're sitting here beating up BMI. What we haven't proven is okay. Why? What are we missing? Why isn't it? Garrett, Paul, Tonja, you say it's bad. Why is it not 42%? What are we missing when we just track BMI?
Intra-abdominal fat.
Okay.
That's probably the biggest thing in my head.
Right. Would you say the same thing?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, you're missing, is that tissue weight composed of muscle tissue or is it composed of fat tissue?
Right. I'd say I agree with both of you. We're missing what is the fat? What is the ratio of fat to muscle is what we're missing. But the other I'd say there's two groups that are greatly affected by that. And the ones that are greatly affected by that, and first I'm gonna say my staff. Now, I have the most qualified staff in the entire Southeast. All of them are former or current athletes, and one of them, yours truly, just got finished competing in my 10th World Championships in the aquathlon. Pretty good shape. I got a cyclist here that rip off the legs of pretty much any cyclist in this area. I have one trainer, Hunter, who can he can squat a house and bench press a Buick. And very low body fat. Every single one of them are on a BMI scale are either borderline or obese.
Mm-hmm.
But that's
Can
not
he
dangerous.
find a Buick still?
I'm sorry. I think he has one in his backyard. That's what he ends up pressing.
Okay.
Just
Okay,
for such an
good.
occasion.
Exactly. But anyway, that's not that nobody's concerned about. Those guys are healthy. We don't care about them. But where it's really dangerous, and y'all may have seen this in your practice, is when you have a very thin, light, great BMI senior. And why? Why is that dangerous? What is it about them that we're missing?
I'm waiting for their hip fracture.
Yeah.
Mm.
Yeah.
I that's a frail person to me.
Very much so. Very much so.
Mm-hmm.
They can't arrest the fall. They can't arrest the trip in the fall.
Right.
They don't have enough healthy tissue.
Exactly.
Their bones are brittle.
Right.
And once they get into that spiral, I give them 2.5 years.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and I'm gonna pivot a little bit. I'm gonna go back to what you were bringing up. The way y'all, brilliant. The way y'all actually measured people because you didn't use BMI, and it also speaks to the same problem we're talking about those frail individuals. What are we seeing with them? Though their BMI may be fantastic, what is the tool that you use to actually determine their health? And how does that relate to all this?
Mm-hmm. Well, I mentioned earlier the calipers, and you could probably talk better about that, but and they have to be done by somebody that knows what they're doing. But it's just a multi-site measurement that is going to differentiate between fat tissue and muscle tissue.
Right.
And like we were talking about the elderly, but that's going to be just an important indicator of health versus just knowing one weight.
So you're talking about body fat percentage.
Yes, body fat percentage.
Yeah,
yes,
definitely so.
Yes,
and y'all may know, but I'll repeat them if you don't. But this one that we live, thrive, and inspire by body fat percentage.
Right.
And you're right about the calipers. You really need somebody that's qualified to use the calipers, but there are a lot of great devices that are inexpensive that you can use. I mean, there's underwater weighing. You can do that. And I don't know of a hydrostatic tank anywhere around. You got a hydrostatic tank at your house, Paul, and you're pretty resourceful.
Yeah.
But
well, it's called a bathtub.
yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Well, we don't have a
Yeah.
hydrostatic tank anywhere around here, but you've got people that are qualified to use calipers. All of my staff are. But if not, then run to Walgreens and spend $25 and get a scale that does bioelectrical impedance. Is it going to, and let me ask you, Paul, is that going to be dead on accurate? I mean, exactly. If I were to step on a scale that does bioelectrical impedance.
So the one you get
is that
at
what we're looking for?
The one you get at Walgreens is probably going to give you okay data, but they do have the big ones that you can use clinically.
Right.
And actually the data behind that is pretty good. It's not, it's not solid. But you also have to look at, visiting the doctor's office. They got to see 20, 30 patients a day. So they need something that's going to be fast.
Quick. Yeah, exactly.
And, and that they don't think about too much because they don't like to think about things like that. So it's hard for them to, I kind of like the waist to hip ratio measurements. People hate that.
Yeah.
They don't. You get out a measuring tape, and then you're going to see like PTSD occur.
A little bit of sweat,
and it's
a little bit of blood pressure.
It's actually a pretty good measurement. It's much better than BMI if you're looking, just because it gives you that ideal of intra-abdominal fat.
Exactly.
Which is an independent risk factor for heart disease, strokes, cancer, you name it. It's there.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and I'm gonna throw out the numbers real quick for anybody that doesn't know. This is why we all three of us lean so hard on body fat, because the true this is what kills me about the BMI. BMI sets this in this range. You may be obese, and that's basically what they're saying. They're not saying you're exactly, because you want to know exactly. The exact definition of obesity is a female who has 30% body fat or more, and a male who has 26% body fat or more. That's it. You can run a 5-minute mile. But if you're a male and you have 26% body fat or more, you're at same potential. You have the same risk factors for heart disease, for liver function failure, for lung failure, or whatever. That somebody that sits on the couch and has that same number, and that's how we know exactly. And that's back to what I was saying about the seniors that we're missing so much, is you have seniors and they've been bombarded with all this information we've been talking about: lipid hypothesis, the food guide pyramid, don't eat this, don't eat this. That their answers in nutrition are cut out or cut back, and their answers in fitness are work harder. Period. That's it. Just work harder. And so they end up being thin, but having 30% body fat. Did you ever see this in your practice? Sarcopenic obesity.
Right. Personally, I didn't as much, because that was not necessarily the population that I saw.
Right.
Personally, then that's just kind of because of the setting that I was in.
I gotcha.
But
well, we see a good bit of it here,
right?
And it scares me, and that speaks to what you were talking about too, Paul. Is the fact that I see a very frail person. Mm-hmm. They can't arrest that fall or what have you. So, all right, let me do a massive pivot here, because we went down this rabbit hole of BMI. How does that relate to what we were talking about in the last two episodes? Because I mean, this is a summation of this series. We're talking lipid hypothesis. We're talking about the food guide pyramid. How does that relate? The BMI, body fat. Why is this all tied? Somebody ties together for me.
So you visit the physician. They say your BMI is too high. You need to cut out the fat.
Right.
You need to get thinner. And even though they changed from a pyramid to a plate and they have all these little circles on there, people are still have this mind virus of eating fat is bad.
Right.
And so that drives them to continue to go down that route.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, if I eat the baked chips that taste like cardboard, and make my soul hurt, versus the regular potato chips, that's going to be better. That's going to be healthier.
Right.
And I just want you to walk. I just want you to walk, 20, 30 minutes. No. I don't want you to walk. I want you to lift heavy weights.
Yeah,
And I
exactly.
want your heart rate to get up there.
Right.
And if I'm going to tell you to walk, I want you to walk up a hill, a mountain.
Yeah.
That's
Add
the
some
kind of
resistance
work that I
training.
need you to do. I need you to really, your body only changes when you stress it.
Right.
All organisms want to be at the lowest energy state.
Yes.
And if you live at that low energy state, guess what? Your body's going to reflect that.
Absolutely.
So you only change, you only adapt when you stress the system.
Right. Right.
So I just went off on a huge tangent, and I'm
That's
sorry
okay.
about that.
But no, it's fantastic. I like the way it ties in, but I'm going to go back to what you were mentioning, the whole healthy food thing. Take it from there, Tonja. I mean, you still have people talking to you about this, and you were talking about it earlier about what people come to you, the one food and whatever. But this whole healthy, I'm going to eat healthy. What how does that tie into all this?
Well, I guess the bottom line for me is, I'm gonna look at you as an individual. I gotta know a little bit about you. I want to know what your goals are. I do want to know if you got anything going on. I'm going to look at you as an individual. And then, as far as healthy foods, we've got to shift back to that whole food thing,
right?
Eating less foods that come out of boxes.
Yeah.
And I love what you were saying, Paul. What's it easier to eat? You have to peel an orange. It takes just a little bit of effort. But typically the foods that take a little more effort,
right,
are those that are going to be better for us. And again, we're when we shift to those processed foods, is because it's super easy.
Yeah.
So I mean, even stuff that like an apple, that's even more difficult to chew.
Yeah.
But yeah, so definitely more of a whole foods approach. And again, what I mean by that is foods that are going to take a little bit more effort. They don't come out of a box or a bag. And what I always talk to people about is, okay, where you are right now,
right,
is not producing the results that you want.
Right.
So how can we change?
Yeah.
And it's not just going to be here. It's going to be here, 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 and here. Typically, it's not just going to be one thing that is going to bring about,
right,
this change or this goal that they want.
Well, and I think I may have talked about this before we recorded the first one of these, and the fact that what I love about working with y'all is y'all are very passionate about the subject, but y'all also extremely realistic. And so I don't hear, now you may correct me, I don't hear you saying, okay, never eat potato chips.
Right.
I mean, your approach is different, right? I mean,
yes.
and talk about that a bit if you don't mind.
Well, yeah, we do like to talk about that. There's no bad foods.
Right.
If I was going to pin a label on something, it would be in the processed food market.
Yeah. Right.
But yeah, we've got to stop thinking about foods in good and bad categories, and we've got to stop thinking about eating until we're stuffed.
Yeah.
It is good to be hungry.
Yeah, exactly.
When we break that fast with breakfast in the morning, we're supposed to be hungry.
Right.
If you're not hungry when you get up in the morning, you ate too much the night before.
Exactly.
And if you're not hungry for lunch at 1 o'clock, you're still not hungry, you ate too much.
Yeah.
I mean, it can be as simple as that.
Right.
Somebody asked me the other day, hey, what's that one thing I can do? Well, the one thing you can do is leave food on your plate.
Yeah.
Just start there. If you're someone that always finishes everything on your plate, start by leaving food on your plate.
That's wonderful. Yeah.
And again, I go back to, if you are consuming more calories than it takes your body to exist that day,
right,
it will be stored for later use of energy as fat. And
no matter what it is,
it doesn't matter. Because again, and I get people hard, well, it depends on the type. No, it really doesn't.
It doesn't.
It doesn't. Your body's not sitting around categorizing calories and going, oh, well, I won't store that, but I'm going to store this. And it's excess. this is what
Period.
it does with excess.
And it's
Yes.
going to first look, do I have enough calories to exist? I don't care what it is. But I ate too few calories, but I ate nothing but protein. Doesn't matter. It was all used for energy, every single bit of it.
Yeah.
So common. We're kind of getting to the summation of all this because I want to leave our viewers and our listeners with, okay, what do I do? You know, and I'm going to take it from the exercise standpoint in a minute. Paul, if you wouldn't mind, I'd love for you to from what we talked about, lipid hypothesis, food guide pyramid, you know, and even BMI, some advice on when you're seeing your physician, you know, being an educated patient, you know, and what have you. If you wouldn't mind taking it from there, and if you wouldn't mind, you started it there, but Tonja, if you wouldn't mind also giving us some resources. We talked about this in the vitamins episode about some resources about if you want to know more about this and how to go about it. So you know, give us a little of that information from the I'll start with the exercise standpoint. From the exercise standpoint, you know, Paul, you brought it up a minute ago, and actually I've done some research recently on breaking it down because I'm writing a live age. Y'all know how I believe about that. The ridiculous concept of the time passing on a calendar deteriorating the body is an absolute lie. It's never been proven. And I've actually got into the cells and gotten into the mitochondria and found out that not only do we know, we have studies out there that prove that the exercise can help that. Aerobic exercise can help it. Resistance training helps it even more. HIIT training helps it the best. And back to what you were saying a minute ago, Paul, about making sure you've got resistance training involved in your program in order to attack this. And also, I'm going to throw one out. I'm going to let you kind of go farther on this. But when I look at, because people ask me about nutrition all the time, I'm not a dietitian. It's famous in my elevator speech about myself. I'm not a dietitian, nor do I play one on TV. But it's very simple. Calories in, calories out. That's weight control, weight loss. That's it. Weight maintenance and protein. You know, making sure you have enough protein. But first, focus on amounts. All right, let's step back from that, Paul, as far as the medical side of it.
So physicians, your standard physicians have no training in nutrition. They have no training in nutrition in a healthy state or a diseased state. You have a problem.
Right.
So asking for their advice can be hit or miss.
Yeah.
They're going to fall back on their guidelines, and that's the thing. The food pyramid is a guideline. But we take it as law. So it's really hard for me to kind of come up with what. This is something you have to take onto yourself. This is a personal responsibility thing. Your doctor, your doctor, the healthcare system is not. It's a sick care system. That's what it is.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
It's not really a healthcare system. So yes, see your doctor about, you know, the disease state and what you can do. But, and people ask me, well, what can I do to become more resilient? Well, you can lift weights and you can eat protein, make sure you have a good, well-balanced meals, balanced being really good whole grains, natural foods, a good meat, drank lots and lots and lots of water. Everybody's, oh, I drink lots of water. How much do you drink? Oh, I drank one of these. I'm like, no. I want 3 to 5 of these a day.
Well, going to the nutrition side of it, I mean, that's your territory. But like he's saying, the different information about that he offers to people as far as that goes, recommendations you can make, and also, like I was saying earlier, places that you would recommend people.
Well,
themselves.
And to me, that is the biggest thing is education, because you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
And if you're looking at all this and going, oh my gosh, I don't even know where to start. I mean, you can get some great information from the internet.
Right. Yeah,
you can, if you want to find out about vitamins and minerals, if you want to find out about, you know, I mean, any of this, you can find good information.
Right.
And, once you learn what something is and maybe its mechanisms inside the body, you can take that. What you need to be leery of are information sources that then say, but you can't eat, you know, as many beets as you need to eat. So we have made this product that is lots and lots of beets. So you need to, so don't let it drive you to a product necessarily.
Right.
But there is good information out there that you can educate yourself about.
Right.
Yes, of course, a dietitian is always, you know, a good source of information. But if you don't like where you are, then you got to change.
True.
So look at where you are and think, okay, you know, how can I be better in this area? Of course, you know, doctor's the first stop.
Yeah.
But yeah, educate yourself.
Right.
Educate yourself.
And go to your point, Paul. Actually, both of y'all, all three of us are making that point. Go to the professional that actually handles that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I come from a medical family. My father was a physician. My brother is a physician. I've got a tight tie with the medical community, Mobile in Alabama, outside of Alabama, proven here by Dr. Paul Langevin on with us today. Nothing against the medical practice, but not trained in exercise, not trained in nutrition.
Mm-hmm.
Go to an exercise physiologist, go to a dietitian for dietary.
Yes.
And also, I think you've said this before, but the ADA website, would you recommend that? Yeah.
Yeah,
American Dietary Association.
Mm-hmm.
So different places you can go. Hey, another place you can always go is reach out to us. We'll tell you how to do that in just a second. I want to thank my guests for this 3-part series and thank them for being great contributors to the Personalized Fitness Podcast. First, Dr. Paul Langevin of Star Valley Osteopathy. Paul, as always, please tell us how to get in touch with you.
My website is probably the best way, starvalleyomm.com. Phone number, email, all that's on there.
Fantastic. And y'all can reach out to us. We have those links on the social media and on the YouTube. Tonja, our frequent guest on the show and handles the nutrition component with me so graciously about once a month or so. Tonja, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate it. Have questions? I don't want to give your personal cell phone number out, but I always tell everybody, if you have any questions about with Tonja, you're welcome to reach out to me. And you reach out to the show at 251-278-3343. That's 251-278-EDGE. Reach out to me also at my email address, garrett@personalizedfitness.com. Personalizedfitness.com is our website, of course. Personalized Fitness, our Facebook page. Hit us up on X at Team PE. Folks, at the end of the series, don't believe everything you hear. And it's amazing how this has been financially driven. That the money behind it, that's what's really driving all this. You know, if you heard this before, you've probably heard it on different mystery and TV shows or whatever. At the end of the day, follow the money. But there's a lot of money in confusion. And that's what we've created here with the lipid hypothesis, food gap pyramid, even BMI. Hey, do some of the research yourself, and also don't think twice about reaching out to us. We're more than glad to clear the air on any of it. It's just one more way we help you reach your level of wellness. Thank you so much for joining us, and I'll catch you next time.